all began a little more than 350 years ago, when groups of people arrived on the North American mainland to establish a new life for themselves. They were determined to establish a new society where the individual was free to live and work as he pleased. A free, competitive economic system was begun, made up of privately owned businesses that existed to serve the needs of the rest of the community. Even today, we still operate under an economic system that is basically the same. Many businesses that have been formed over the years have grown in size and have passed from their original owners to public ownership by stockholders. At the same time, there is still the opportunity for individuals to begin their own businesses if they want and are able. This system of free decision forms the very backbone of our society. The businesses that comprise the system provide the products and services that people want and need. Few businessmen can function alone. They need people to help them. So businesses mean jobs, and jobs mean salaries and wages. The money these people earn goes largely to purchase the goods and services other people are producing. So it's a self-perpetuating system. There are three elements that make it work. First, to be successful, a business must provide a product or service people want. That's obvious. Second, a business must be able to provide its product or service at a price that is competitive. That's obvious too. Third, a business must earn a profit. This is often not so obvious to many people. Yet a business that doesn't earn a profit will not be in business very long. Why? What is profit? Profit is the money left over after all the expenses of doing business are paid. The amount of profit depends then on two things: how much money the business brings in prices charged for its product and services, and how much money it pays out in expenses, salaries to its employees, for buying the materials it needs to provide its product or service, for research into new products, for rent, telephone, advertising, for depreciation on its buildings and equipment, and for taxes. Taxes take an ever-growing share of money a business brings in. The average profit for a business that manufactures a product is about 5% of sales income. That's not very much when you consider there is no guarantee a business will earn a profit. 5% is actually less than most people earn as interest on money deposited in savings accounts, and their rate of interest is guaranteed. Profit may be used in many ways. To reinvest in the business in terms of new facilities or equipment, or perhaps hiring new people. To pay a return to the owner or owners in the form of a dividend on money invested in the business. Or to hold in the business as cash reserves in case of a future slowdown. Profit, therefore, is essential to the successful operation of a business. From the point of view of the owners or stockholders, and from the point of view of the people who work for a company, who depend on it for their incomes. To understand how profit can affect you, let's say you're looking for a job. You have your heart set on earning enough money to buy a new automobile, one that looks great and gets better than 25 miles to the gallon of gas. You see an ad that appeals to you. It's a job you can handle while you're still in school. You go there, get interviewed, and you're hired. You'll work 3 hours every afternoon and all day on Saturday. And the pay? It's okay. You aren't at Stanley's very long before it becomes obvious that business is really good. Everyone seems to want a fancy new bike, and the Stanley Bicycle Shop is the only store in the area selling them. In fact, you learn that the company can't supply enough bikes to meet the demand. There is a 4-week wait. You also discover that the prices charged by Stanley's are pretty high, more than you feel you'd like to pay for a new bike. But then, since people can't get their bikes anyplace else nearby, they're willing to pay the price and wait for delivery. It isn't long before you learn more about this business you're working for. The principal owner is your boss, Mr. Stanley. In order to start the business 8 years ago, he needed more money than he had himself. So he incorporated and sold stock in the business to 3 of his friends. He kept the majority for himself, so he maintained control. The 3 friends, or stockholders, bought the stock as a business investment. The investors expect a return on their investment, more than the interest they would get if they had simply put their money in the bank. They expect more because there is greater risk involved in putting their money in a new business enterprise. In fact, 3 out of 5 new businesses fail in the first 2.5 years. You realize, perhaps for the first time, that people who have accumulated money are a very important part of our economic system. They provide the risk capital needed to start new businesses or improve old ones. Stanley's bicycle shop is obviously doing well. Profits have been growing every year for the past 8 years. And in the past few years, as the demand for bicycles has been growing fast, the company has been able to pay a dividend to its stockholders. The company has 3 full-time employees now, in addition to Mr. Stanley and you. The 3 are married with families. You are impressed that they will work very hard to make Stanley's more profitable. They know that their own futures are directly related to the company's continued financial success. You recognize that your own goal, the new automobile, is also directly related to Stanley's success. After all, it was Stanley's profitable business that made it possible for him to hire you in the first place. While all of you are working hard to make the company even more profitable, other people looking for a good business investment are looking at Stanley's obvious success with great interest. If there is such a demand for bicycles, perhaps there would be an opportunity for another shop to operate profitably. They decide to open a new bicycle shop in direct competition with Stanley's. They turn to a different manufacturer, one that builds a bicycle that can be sold cheaper. It's a good bicycle, but not of the same high quality as Stanley's. Suddenly, the people of your area discover there are bicycles available immediately, and they cost less than Stanley's. Many turn to the new shop, and you learn something else about profits. When they're high, others are motivated to get into the business and share them. This helps consumers by increasing the supply of products available to them and by lowering the price. Stanley is obviously upset. For the first time in his business life, he is faced with competition. His sales fall off, and he has to do something to get them up again. He decides he can afford to lower the prices of his bicycles in the hopes that will bring customers back to the shop. He won't go as low as his competitor because his bicycles cost him more than his competitors. He knows it's a better product and worth more money. He holds a sales meeting of his employees and gives them a review of the sales features of his line of bicycles. He believes aggressive selling, combined with a lower price, will keep his business healthy. His sales improve, but at the new lower prices, his overall income is still considerably less than it had been before the competitor opened shop. There is barely enough money coming in to cover his expenses. He has an important decision to make, one that most businessmen must make at one time or another. He must either cut his costs of doing business or find a way to increase his income. You are very interested in his decision because if he decides to cut costs, Your job would probably be the first cost he would cut. Your dreams of that new car would evaporate until you could find another job. You hope Mr. Stanley will select the other option and find a way to increase his income. One way is to expand his business, adding a new line of products that would bring in new customers. After considerable thought, he decides his best bet is tennis equipment. He knows the demand is there. More and more people are playing the game, and there is no tennis shop in the area. But acquiring an inventory of tennis rackets and apparel will take more money than he has available. He is sure he can turn to his bank for a business loan. His healthy profit picture over the past years shows that he's a good manager and a good business risk. You hold your breath while Stanley makes up his mind. And finally, he does. He decides his only alternative is to expand the products he offers. Choosing the other alternative would be less likely to improve his income. It would also mean he would have to let his employees go, and he doesn't want to do that. So the Stanley Bicycle Shop becomes the Stanley Bicycle and Tennis Shop. Tennis buffs are quick to discover the shop, and soon Stanley's overall level of income after expenses is back where it once was. Stanley retains a clientele for high-quality bicycles at a reasonable price, leaving the strictly price buyer to his competitor. Both businesses continue operating because each offers products and services a number of people want. They provide jobs for a number of people in the community. As for you, you still have your job, and you can continue accumulating the money for the car of your dreams. And you have learned something about the private enterprise system and the importance of profit. You've seen how high profits stimulate the formation of new businesses. You've seen how that helps increase the supply of products on the market, and how it causes prices to be lowered. It's hard for you to believe, but you've seen it happen. The private enterprise system, based on the profit incentive for those in business, actually results in lower prices for the consumer. The profit-seeking private enterprise system also functions in another important way. It can lower the prices of things business buys, and it's an important means of allocating raw materials such as petroleum. When a raw material is in short supply, its price goes up. This causes the products made from the material to become more expensive to buy and brings business complaints of shortages. So the demand drops, and there is less of a drain on the raw material. At the same time, the higher price for the raw material stimulates suppliers to produce more. So by encouraging production of scarce materials and discouraging consumption, temporarily high prices and profits eventually relieve shortages. Profit, then, has a number of important functions in our private enterprise system. It tells industry what the consumer wants and how much. It is an incentive for the businessman to provide the consumer with new or improved products and better service. Nearly everything new on the market is the result of research and development activities paid for out of some company's profits. It stimulates competition, which increases supplies and lowers prices. It is the source of capital to expand business activity and increase the number of jobs. And it serves as a metering device that establishes priorities for the use of resources. A market feedback system. That's what our economy is sometimes called. Whenever price or supply get out of line, the system will automatically correct itself and become balanced. That is, if it is left alone to act and react according to consumer wants and needs. So while you're driving around in that brand new automobile, remember that it was profit at work that made it possible for you to own it. In fact, profit and the private enterprise system is what has given all of us the way of life we now enjoy.